Hello everyone, I'm back. I'm going to do some coin roll hunting today of sorts. Usually what I do is I pick a single denomination, cents, dimes, nickels, quarters, what have you, and search through just that denomination. It makes finding stuff on the internet up here a lot easier, just sticking to one denomination. So today we're going to be going through some more Lincoln cents, and not really roll hunting. My rolls are all over here. All these canisters you see here are cents, and they're full of cents. Not going to put you through a search of all those at the moment, but what I am going to do is I went through my pocket change, and I also have a little cup holder in my car full of change. I pulled everything out today, and I have a pile of cents over there, and I'm going to go through them real quick with my new handy-dandy USB microscope. So, first off, let's see, got 1988 here. And I've pulled up on the Lincoln Cent Resource the double dies page. And there's a whole list here of coins to go through. I don't see 1988 here on the list, so I'm not going to bother checking for the double die on this. But I will run around the coin looking for other errors, looking for cuds on the rim, any letters missing could be attributed to a grease-filled die. I did find a grease-filled die on a wheat cent in one of the last videos where the U and the S were completely gone. So I kept that one. So I'm on the lookout for grease-filled dies, die cracks, cuds. If they're along the rim here, a die crack that has a giant chunk missing will turn into a cud. So I'll be looking for those. Looking for anything weird in Liberty. Die chips in the middle of the letters. That's more prominent on wheat cents, but it's entirely possible it could happen through here. So any kind of weirdness going on is what I'm looking for today. Also on Lincoln Cent Resource, there's wide AM and close AM varieties for some years. 92, 98, 99, and 2000. I've got a little sticky note over here on my computer to quick access those when I come across those dates. So if you see me stop on a 1992, 98, 99, or 2000, you'll probably also see me click over here to this page, the wide AM and close AM varieties. If you're not familiar with those, there was a couple different dies used on those years with a variation here in the closeness of the A and M in America. Some are exceedingly rare, some are not quite common, but you can still find them in your change. And we'll cover more of that later. There was also proofs, business strikes and proofs. See, what had happened is they had mistakenly taken a proof reverse die and put it into regular stamping, I guess you would say, or minting or striking for business strike coins. And the proof was close AM, but the general circulation cents were a wide AM, so it produced a variety. And there's some markers to look for. The shape of the FG and placement of the FG, the designer's initials on the reverse by the Lincoln Memorial. You can see there's some difference between close and wide AM. And then, of course, the big telltale is the distance between the A and the M in America. So just a handful of years to look for on those. 92, 98, 99, and 2000. So if I come across one, you'll probably see me do little dance over here in the window that I'm pulled up in. So anyway, let's go back to... actually, I'll touch on one more thing here. Repunched mint marks. That's not really a thing for a lot of Lincoln Memorial cents because the mint marks weren't hand punched in this area after, I believe, 1989. So it is entirely possible to have a repunched mint mark, a D over an S, for a few years. But in 1974, the San Francisco Mint became exclusively available for proof coins. So the possibility of having a D over S or an S over D after 1974 are pretty much zero. There might be a couple of them out there by mistake, but not likely. And of course, Philadelphia doesn't have a mint mark at all, so there's no P over Ds. There might be some D over Ds. Well, I'll keep a lookout for that. Let's see. Go back to double dies. That's going to be one of my main focuses today. Consulting this list, looking for double dies. And it might be an obverse or a reverse. I won't know until I find the exact scent I'm looking at and then consult the list over here. Again, this is LincolnScentResource.com. The #1 spot on the web for Lincoln scent collectors. If you're not familiar with the page, head over there. This is like coin collector porn. There is so much stuff here. Brilliant website. Kudos to the guys who put that one up. So I have a handful of scents here. Let's just dive into it and see what I can come up with. I've already looked around this 1988 a little bit. Nothing much going on. I'm going to flip it over. And here's the FG we talked about earlier. The designer's initials for the reverse. And I'm just looking for any weirdness in the rim here. Die breaks, cuds, die cracks. Lincoln, if he's missing. There are some coins where grease-filled die or just die wear contributed to Lincoln not being present on the reverse, so it might be kind of neat to find one of those. And because these are older memorial scents, a lot of these are, you're going to see some really funky things with zinc rot, and we'll talk about that when I come up with some. Right here, I'm seeing a little bit of dye deterioration. You see these lines above the letters in states. This is a late dye stage coin, which means this coin was struck after the dye had been in service for a long, long time. And from the impact of the dye on the coin over probably millions of times, this area along the rim started to fill in and become curved, concaved. There we go. Instead of straight up and down on an L shape, it became a little bit of a U. Sorry, my camera is opposite from what I'm seeing, so it's kind of hard to see where my hands are going. But this area of the dye started filling in, and then artifacting would happen. The tops of these letters that part of the design would start to creep into the U shape along the rim here. And you can also see some weirdness going on up here. This is a little bit of machine doubling, where the dye, as the coin is ejected, the dye is grabbing the hot coin that was just struck and kind of smearing the details down a little bit. And we'll talk about that. You can see some of that here, here especially, and here, where the top of the T has been pushed down a little bit onto itself. That's a machine doubling combined with dye wear. So it's not an error. And you can see a little bit of could be machine doubling or damage, actually machine damage, we'll just call it that. It's not exactly doubling, but some more smearing of the metal on the bottom parts of the coin there. Moving along. 1996. Let's see if we got anything in that range for a double die. Nope. 95 and 97, but no 96. So let's take a look around. Nothing. You can see this coin is in a lot better shape than the previous one. The T is all intact up here and there. There's nothing going on with the details on the rim there. So this is an earlier die state coin, at least compared to the last one, which was pretty well worn. Nothing going on. 1979. I don't see anything on the double die list. So we'll mosey around. And this 1979 cent is copper. It's not zinc plated. Actually, it's not copper plated zinc. like the 1983 and later coins are, so you'll notice the toning of this coin is quite different. It's more of a brown color, whereas the Zinken cents have a toning that's unique. It's all their own. If they get old enough to tone at all, the copper plating usually starts to come off and the zinc rot starts coming through. There's a little bit of a weak strike right through here, or it could be damage as well. It's hard to tell. There's a big nick here, but nothing collectible here. If you see this, it's just normal. It's either wear, die wear, or wear on the coin itself, but nothing collectible. Nothing here. $1987. Got nothing on the double die. Here's some more what I talked about a minute ago. You can see this ridge right here. This is from die wear, and it's starting to impede down on the design. Look how shallow this T is right here. And ramping up to the U shape here along the rim. This part of the T and this part of the S are actually bumped above the level of the rest of the letter here. This is another late stage die. You can also see a lot of these details starting to turn to mush on Lincoln. The die was starting to wear out pretty good at this point. Let's flip it over. Nothing going on. Move on. 78. I don't see anything on the list. Get my pointer out of the way for you guys there. Now there might be some little anomaly right here on the serif of the M. It might be a die chip, but it could also be just dirt or deterioration, rust, tarnish. Not rust on copper, but you know what I mean. Same kind of thing over here, discoloration. So that's pretty sure that's what that is. And even if that was a small die chip there, it's so insignificant that I wouldn't even bother keeping it. Just interesting to note. Nothing there. $1970. There's an S double die. This is not an S, so I'm not going to bother looking for the details and photos on the double die for this year. And this one's pretty well beat up. Almost 50 years in circulation. We'll do that to Abe. Damage. Rim damage. Damage. This coin has seen a lot of honest transactions in its life. But it's still holding up after almost 50 years, more than I can say for me. 77. There is no 77 double die. It looks like the interior of the mint mark here is filled in just a little bit. Perhaps the start of a die chip inside the mint mark, but it's still clearly a D. Also might be something going on right here a little bit, but nothing significant, nothing worth keeping, nothing valuable. Oh, this camera just shifted to a weird color palette. I've noticed that this camera has a lot of auto features, like auto lighting with the iris, auto color balance. And I think this blue glove of mine kind of freaks the camera out, and it's doing weird things to the color, because to the eye, this coin is actually quite red. There you go. It looks like that. The F is not really prominent down here, but probably die wear on that. And changing the orientation of the coin, changing the lighting on this, and saw a little bit of weirdness going on with these letters here. Look fine there, but turn the lighting away and start seeing these things pop up. These are machine doubling. You can see that the E, the leg of the E is here, and there's also a faint leg above it. Again, like we were saying earlier, this is when the coin is ejected from the die, it smears the details down a little bit. The coin gets caught up on the die, and it just obliterates a little bit of the image. Doubles it a little bit, pushes it down a little bit, and to the untrained eye, that could be thought of incorrectly as it doubled the die, and it is not. In 1972, there are double dies for 72. This little rim artifact right here is kind of neat. Maybe I'll talk about it later. This coin is in such rough shape, I doubt I'm going to be able to tell. It's not like the 1955 cent, which is extremely doubled. But, well, this would be pretty clear here. That's doubled enough where you would notice the notch here on the 7, and especially on the 2 here. But this is not a doubled die. Even as damaged as it is, I can tell this is not a doubled die. So let's go back. And wow, there are quite a few. 9 of them to be precise. That one. Ah, Liberty has some doubling. Let's just go through all 9 of these. 9 of these varieties. Okay, it's clearly not that one. 3. Well, it may have been that one, but it's so obliterated you can't tell. Number 4. Not really sure what they're trying to show us here. That's so slight. Again, this coin is so beat up you'd never know if it was. Man, look at that. This one is so slight. This could very well have been a double die. There's no way of telling now. This coin is so beat up. You can see a little notch cut out of the W here. And the E here. That's just so far worn. A lot of doubling on the Liberty. Yeah, I doubt it's that one either. 8. So slight in the details. If only this coin was in better shape. I can say definitively. Oh, there's a pretty good double serif on this too, which is not present here, so it's not that. So, total bust on the 72, as I suspected. But it's sad this coin is in such rough shape that you wouldn't be able to tell anyway. And there are no double die reverses for this. So, again, just looking for any weirdness on the reverse. And there is none. So we'll move on. A little bit newer. Oh, this is actually going to be a shield cent. I'll show you that in a minute. You guys have probably come across a lot of these in your change now. It's the new reverse of Lincoln scent. The shield. Now, I have not looked at a shield scent under a microscope until this very second. I just got this microscope a couple days ago. So this is my first time looking at a shield scent under the microscope. Nice. Now, I have been seeing error coins from the shield scents with die cracks through this area. The shield here is so prominent, such a large part of the design of the reverse. A lot of pressure is required to strike this big of a design, and we end up getting die cracks, especially from the points here. Die cracks going to the rim. Those are high pressure points on the die, and then die cracks through here on the banner as well. But this one looks as intended. Moving on. 97D. There we go. There's a good example for you. This would be a grease-filled die of some sort. See, the O is totally missing. Bottom of the F is obliterated. And there's weirdness going on through here. The bottom of the S, bottom of the E. I'm thinking that's going to be grease in the die. You see striations through here. What looks like it happened was the die had become dirty, or maybe scratched or slightly damaged, so the mint worker took a scouring pad or whatever they used to clean the dies, cleaned all through here, and then maybe forced some of that debris into the design here. Or maybe it's grease filled, who knows. But yeah, a little weirdness there. Nothing worth any money, nothing collectible. In fact, the rest of this scent is hideous. It's like Abe got attacked by a giant black ink cloud there. So, nothing collectible here. It's just, it gets really sad to see how these coins deteriorate in the wild so quickly. Especially after 1982, when they switched to the, we call them zinken scents. Zinc core, microscopically thin copper plating. The copper plating usually erodes away pretty quick, and the zinc underneath it rots, and they just deteriorate into dust. Here's another example of die wear. Let's go back. Double die list. Nothing. Let's see here more. That die wear creep coming in. All the way around the scent here. Nothing. This one's in horrible shape. And this is what we call zinc rot. You can see the copper plating is really thin here. It's starting to wear off. The zinc is coming through, and it's rotting. This coin will be dust in a few years, especially if we take it outside and throw it on the ground. Right here, just a big chunk missing. So that coin is not long for this world. I can't even see if there wasn't on a designer's initials here. There's more rot. Sadly enough, though, this is what most pennies look like after just a few years in circulation. These these zinken cents. Turn this camera a little bit. There we go. Oh, another 72. Now, I'm not going to go back and check on every one of these double dies. I kind of got the hang of what I'm looking for. Liberty, the date, and God we trust here. So if I see something I question as it might be double die, I'll go back to this list. I'm not spotting anything here that indicates it might be a double die. Certainly nothing on the date. Looking for the serif over here, or around the 9. Nothing on In God We Trust. So I'm going to say I'm pretty confident that's not a double die. FG is pretty well worn. Just not a lot to look for on these memorial cents, other than the double dies and the wide AM and close AM. 82. There is a double die reverse. We'll check that in a minute. There is one very important thing I need to talk about with you guys on the 83 actually. 82 was the year they switched from the solid bronze metal, solid copper, commonly called, to the zinc with the copper plating. Some very important rare specimens have come up lately. 1983 cents, which are all supposed to be the zinc plated coins, but they've been found with the old copper planchets. So weight becomes a factor. I would recommend you save all 83 cents and weigh them to see if they come back as copper or zinc. If you find an 83 cent that comes back with a copper weight, you got a rare coin. Let's see here. Oh yeah, 82. There's a double die reverse. So on the E pluribus unum, I'm looking for this coin is in such bad shape. I would almost think this could be one. There's a double. Might be, that's just damage. But it looks like there was a double part of the serif here on the B. But you can't even see the rest of these letters to identify if it is or isn't. Horrible, just horrible. On the 1, let's see if there's any indication of that here. I don't see any. I don't see any doubling along this line of the N. So that would be a no. But yeah, just look how bad a shape that is in. And this is your main indicator of a double die reverse over here. And you can't really see the details enough on this to make it definitive. All right, 94. There is a double die reverse for the 94, so let's check that out. After we give Lincoln here a good look over. Okay, 94 reverse. What are we looking for? The column here. So this is the window, I should say, the space between the columns, which would be right here. It's kind of hard to see these in these photographs. The images look reversed almost, like this is a raised portion and the columns here are actually sunk in. It's just a trick lighting, but this is this here. I'm not seeing this column duplicated here, so this is not the double die reverse. This is where pictures become so important, because if you just read a book without a picture and it said look for doubling of the column in this space here, which would be first space on the right going to the left, you wouldn't really necessarily think of that as doubling there. I might think it was a scratch or something before I thought it was doubling. Alright, you got 89. All deteriorated. Nothing for double dies. Let's take a look around the design. Nothing. 2011. Must be a shield scent. Not seeing anything going on here. D, nothing for double die. T is pretty well obliterated here. A lot of damage along the rim, a lot of zinc rot showing through. Same over here. So if this coin had any significant error on it, this value would be almost 0 anyway, because it's in such rough shape. And this area right here seems to be a problem area for the mint, either with the striking pressure or die wear, but the O and the S right here missing. A lot of detail on a lot of the coins we've seen so far. So nothing here. One thing I have not come across yet I want to talk to you guys about is more machine doubling. It's very prominent on Lincoln Cents in the year here, but I haven't come across any yet. At least I haven't seen any. So I'm keeping my eye out for that to show you guys a good example of machine doubling. So that was a 91. Nothing on the list for double dies. It's not a wide AM or close AM year, so I'm not worried about much on this coin. $78. Again, no double die. At least I'll say no double dies on the list. Doesn't mean we won't be able to find one someday. I doubt every penny ever struck has been this closely scrutinized under microscopes. So there very well might be undiscovered double dies out there, but us collectors are pretty hardy on checking. And if one hasn't been discovered in the last 40 plus years, probably not going to find a new 1976 double die coin. Chances are always there, but less and less likely every year after a coin is struck. We're discovering something new. Nothing going on here. $77D. Here's an 82 zinc cent. You can tell by the rot around here around the date. And there's lots of Philadelphia, so there won't be a double dyed reverse for the D. Yeah, 66. Well, this is the oldest coin I pulled out of my pocket change. There's no 66 double die. There's more what we talked about earlier, the creeping of the design up the die toward the rim. This coin actually uses a significantly different design than modern cents do. The cent has been redesigned, not redesigned, but retooled over the years many, many times. I don't think I've covered any of that information with you guys yet, but you just see how mushy Lincoln looks here. And I'll grab a newer cent for comparison. There we go. But see how the details here, there's not much detail left in the hair. It's all kind of smashed down, matted. Part of that is because this coin is worn, but even if you find a mint state example of this year, or this range of years and coins, there's not much detail left in the hair. So after a while, the mint had gone back through and resculpted a lot of the details in Lincoln's hair throughout his entire head here, through the beard. Just gone back and made new master dies from the hubs. Man, you can see that here again. Lots more detail through all these portions, through the beard as well, more detail. So from time to time, the mint does go back and resculpt their working dies to make the coinage more eye appealing. Nothing in the way of a double die for this year. But we're always on the lookout for die cracks, chips, cuds, missing details from grease-filled dies. So even though you know there's no major error for that year, there's still things to look for. Like this right here. This could be a very, very minor die crack. Could also be a plating crack, a crack in the copper plating, but it's so minuscule it's not even worth looking at. Let's move on. And another shield, and here's an opportunity to see what the shield cent looks like with a little more wear and circulation on it. So the tones on this coin are pretty. The purples and reds around the rim, and some browning, some chocolate color. Part of that is the copper toning, and some of it is probably the zinc from the core wearing its way through. So just think, every time you pull up a shield cent and you look at it, it's never going to look that good ever again. They deteriorate every day. This a little bit more of a filled in mint mark here. Lincoln's pretty well beat up. Dirt, bubblegum, crud, oil. Pennies are just so unloved. 79, nothing going on. There we go. Some damage through here. Whenever you see damage on a coin in a circular path like this, it's usually from a machine that rolls up loose change and puts them into those bank rolls you see. The rolling machines usually end up damaging some coins along the way. So if you see a giant circular swath through the design, it's probably from the coin rolling machines. It's not a mint error. Nothing. I think I'm running out of memorial cents here. I think most of what I have left are shield cents. Like this one. I haven't come across any die chips or die cracks yet. That's a scratch. A crack in the die. It might be the very hint of a start of a die crack, because it goes through the design and then out into the field. But it's minor enough where I don't care. I'm looking for something spectacular, because usually spectacular means worth more money. But collecting error coins is not all about money. I've talked extensively on that in the past. It's just fun, and a lot of these error coins are neat, and they make good conversation pieces, and they might be worth just face value, but they're just neat to have, neat to collect. 13. Zinc bubble. And I will take this, oh, there's a big chunk of dirt. Sticky dirt. I will take this little break in the action here. Oh, 97. Double die outburst. There we go. The ear again. Nothing on the ear, so swing and a miss. Swing and a miss. I will take this chance to mention that this list I'm going off of here, this is not the complete double die list. There's 50 of them listed right here. Not sure how many of these are, probably 50. But then it says right here, the list above represents only a handful of the hundreds of Lincoln cent double dies that exist. These are the most popular and sought after double dies. So, what I was saying earlier about there might not be a 1977 double die outburst. Well, there might, but it's just not sought after, and it's not on the list. And the list is what I use for these hunts, because no collector can know everything. We all require lists of some sort. A lot of collectors pick a specialty. They'll run with one coin. There are collectors that only ever collect Lincoln cents, and they know almost everything about them. And they compile lists like this. So thank you, guys. And there are guys who only collect nickels, and they know everything about nickels, and they publish their nickel lists somewhere else on the internet, and I thank those guys as well, because I've consulted many, many websites and many, many lists, because I am a generalist. I collect a little bit of everything, so I know a little bit about everything, but I don't know everything about everything, and I don't think anybody does. So lists are very important, because I would hate to think that I overlooked a double die coin that was potentially worth a lot of money because I was ignorant. And ignorant is not a bad word in this context. Ignorant means you don't know. That's the true meaning of the word ignorant. You don't know. And there are a lot of things I am ignorant about. The more I learn, I don't know everything. I'm not seeing much of anything on these shield scents. Nothing of note, really. You can see some striations, lines through here that are parallel through the entire coin here. And that's a byproduct of the plating process. When they lay down the thin copper strip over the zinc, leaves that pattern. You'll see it in a lot of coins. 1001, nothing going on the list. See some here too, straight up and down. So this entire video might be a bust. Me not finding anything whatsoever. But literally, this is my pocket change. This is the change I got at the dollar store, the gas station, grocery store, everywhere I've been for the past, well, probably about a week. It's accumulated in a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, especially when I consider the cup holder in the car. There's usually change riding around the cup holder of our cars for a while. That might be a die chip, but probably not. It's not really connected to the N over here. If it happened right down in here, I would say definitely a die chip because the metal was chipped away and it was filling in. This looks more like a zinc bubble. And what that is a microscopic tiny pinhole that you can see right there in the center of it. The little pinhole went all the way down to the zinc layer. The zinc gets oxygen going down to it. It starts to emit vapors, which bubbles the copper plating up and produces, basically, this is a zit. This is a penny zit. You can see right there is a tiny little pinhole in the bottom of it. And then the crater-like volcano forms around it. That is a zinc bubble. And I love the fact this microscope picked up that little pinhole. So I'm going to have a lot of fun with this microscope. You can just see right there where the lighting on the scent changes the color because of my camera settings here. This looks more silverish. Move over to here. Lighting change with this black background comes into effect and changes it to its the color that I see with my eyes, this gold color. Oh, here's something different. There was a Canadian cent stuck in there. Now, I'm in Michigan, so we see Canadian cents in circulation a lot. Again, here's a first. I've never looked at a Canadian coin under the microscope. Damage. Now, they still rocked the copper core up until they killed their 1 cent a couple of years ago. So Canadian cents are no longer made. Doesn't mean this is collectible. 95. Oh, Canada. You're out of here. 17. This is damage. That's a nick from another coin. There's similar damage. So not an error. More of those striations we talked about. Gunk. That looks so much grosser magnified. I'll be generous and say this is glue. Glue of some kind. Truth is, I don't want to think about it too much. Oh, there's some interesting patterns here in the plating. This is probably a fingerprint. Now here's my finger size. There we go. And all these little lines, there's the design to them, there's curves to it. This is most likely a fingerprint. That's why I'm wearing gloves, because the oils on your finger transfer to the coin and then tone it or etch into it because your hands are slightly acidic, the oils on your hands. So over time, this will become darker and darker and become more visible as a fingerprint. So when you're looking at coins, wear a blue glove like Jeff does. Damage. More of that questionable liquid. Actually, it's probably pop. If this came from my center console in my car, I may have dribbled. 2016D. So, double the reason to wear the glove. these might be sticky. And I'm coming down to the last few cents here. 2004. Got nothing on the double die list. Those striations we talked about that keep popping up. They're on all these plated cents if you look at them close enough. Initials are there, Lincoln's there. No cracks, no missing design elements. Oh, 2017 D, so close. If you guys haven't heard, 2017 is a major anniversary for the Philadelphia Mint. So for the first time ever, and for this 1 year only, 2017 cents minted in Philadelphia have a P on them right here. Where the Denver Mint strikes a D, Philadelphia Mint strikes a P on the dime, nickel, quarter, the larger denomination coins, but it's never appeared on a cent until this year. Now, this is the latter part of 2017. I have yet to come across a 2017 Philadelphia minted coin. Every 2017 I come across has been a D. So, bummer. I want to try to find one of those in circulation. I don't want to have to go buy one. And I also don't want one in this shape. I may have sneezed on this one. That looks like that's what that is. I want a nice 2017 P cent. So I guess off to the coin shop I go. So I still have not come across one in my change. Nothing going on. And just so you guys know, after I'm done shooting these videos, I go back and I review another 2017 D. I go back and I review the video to see if I missed anything, because part of what I'm doing here is looking at the coin, but I'm also consulting the list. I'm trying to think of things to say that aren't completely boring. So this coin does not have my 100% full attention. So after I shoot these videos, I do go back and I watch them to see if I've missed anything live. Then I go back and find that cent. And I have come across a few errors here and there of coins that I completely missed a die crack or a die chip live, but I saw it on the video playback. And I'm moving my hand, or my finger actually, over the lighting source here. There's you see some doubling here, some doubling here. I'm all but certain that is machine doubling. But I'm also getting a faint notch look effect right here and right there. I'm not sure if you guys can see it in the video. And it does look like there's a notch here as well. And those are indicative, there we go, of a double die. And you see notching. Here's another part of a double. I guess let's move it around in the light and see if the situation changes any. And I think it did. There we go. A notch I'm seeing looks like damage. And these other parts that I was picking up as doubling look to be like it's the vertical part of the design here. Because we're only seeing a two-dimensional image of a three-dimensional object. So what I'm seeing as doubling could very well be just the vertical slope of the letter. I'm thinking that's what it is. That the notch effect has gone away at this angle. Yep. And you can see this is the vertical part of the E. This is the top part. So, like I said, I have not looked at shield cents very much or at all, really, under the microscope. Just what you guys have seen me go through here, that's the only shield scents I've ever come across under the microscope, because this microscope is new. So I'm still learning to interpret what I'm seeing on the shield scents. Whereas I've pretty much got the knack of the wheat scents and the memorial scents. So at some angles, this almost looks like it's doubled. But it's just a bright and shiny new penny. And this is the last one. I didn't take a look at the front here. Of course, 2017D. It eludes me once again. You will be mine, 2017P. Alright, this is the last scent I had in my pile here. 2016D. Nothing on the list over there. So I think I just got skunked. Yep. Nothing of consequence in this little search. So, I guess that's going to wrap up my Lincoln scent search for right now. Thanks for joining me, guys. That was just a handful of scents I had, like I said earlier. Not really coin roll hunting, but I had them in my pocket and in my center console in the car. And every time I throw those back into circulation, or re-roll them and take them to the bank or spend them, whatever, I always lament I never searched those coins. I didn't look through them. Did I spend the 1972 double die? Did I miss a wheat cent in there? Did I spend the 1943 copper cent? Of course not. But these are the questions that keep us coin roll hunters up at night. What did I miss? So this was more or less to satisfy my curiosity that I wasn't going to spend anything out of the center console and out of my pants pocket that was valuable. These are all worth a penny a piece. I saw no errors of significance, nothing worth keeping, nothing over collector value, nothing over face value rather, no collector value whatsoever. So just to satisfy my curiosity, get a little more experience under my belt with this microscope, and that's it. We got another little coin show diversion video, and that's it. So before I go, I'm going to plug one more time the LincolnScentResource.com. That is a one-stop shopping for information on Lincoln Scent. I'll move me over here for a minute. Give you a little bit better taste of what this has to offer. There we go. Look at all this information, everything. Lincoln Scent varieties, Lincoln Scent sales. You can look up, once you find an error, look up to see what it sold for. Kind of handy. Double dies. There's different styles of the San Francisco mint mark over the years. Key dates, repunched mint marks, large and small dates, the WAM and CAM, the wide AM and close AM. Everything you guys need to know about the scent is on this website. So check it out. It's www.lincolnscentresource.com. If you're looking through Lincoln Scents, if you're a Lincoln Scent collector, go there and check the lists. I guarantee there's information on here you did not know existed. I've been collecting for almost 40 years, and there are so many things that I've learned from this website. I promote it to anyone I come across that's a fan of the Lincoln Scent. You have to go to that site over there. So anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. More coin roll hunting, more Lincoln Scent hunting on future shows. So, see ya.